Frank, I'm excited to chat with you and hear your insight on how do we work remote. This is an interesting time we're in right now with pandemic. So many people are pushed to say, just stay home, work from home, and everyone is having to adjust. Some people are used to this, others not so much. What are your thoughts? Your work you are very familiar with needing to work remote. What was your statement to your own people and the way you work?
I think if you have an attitude of wanting to get things done, it shouldn't matter at what time or what location.
Mm.
The beauty of being in a technology company developing software is that all that's required is an internet connection and a laptop to do your best work. I think what has to come with that is discipline, because I think that many of us may see working from home as a stigma of not actually getting things done, kind of relaxing or taking it lightly. But when you have a good team that actually care about what they do and they understand that it's not just a privilege to work from home, but it's a part of life, we should be able to do this anywhere, people will perform well and will actually do what's expected of them. So we were actually very good at that.
It's natural then for a technology company, a software company that okay, we can work from home, and then you start to get into the routine of it. You know what you can do and the technology around, but for others, this is completely new. So for those that have never had this experience yet, what will be some top thoughts or tips that come to your mind of you should keep, here's a thought, what they can do to make this work well for them?
Sure. Actually, I thought about this over the last couple of days. So, like, just freshly, you have to be willing and not afraid to actually do it. Realistically, giving your team the ability to come and go as they please and get the job done anytime is very, very important.
Mm.
You also have to really think about what type of company are you. If you are a restaurant, there are some things that you could do from home, but there are many things that you cannot. So it really comes down to what the type of business you are, what's the service that you're providing, and then take a step back and either surround yourself with people who understand technology well enough that can say, oh, these tools could be helpful for you to achieve X, Y, and Z, or be comfortable enough to do the research yourself and try to come with the mindset of, this is what I need to achieve. How do I make sure that I keep everyone well connected? There's so many tools, so many companies out there that deliver great technology to do that. I can name 100 products that I've used that can get various jobs done, but I think it really comes down to first being very comfortable with what you're about to embark on, and also be willing to do it. Don't just say you want to do it, actually be willing to do it and listen to people around you and get as much insight as you can. Because not all of us know the right ways to do it, but collectively, I think you can come up with the best solutions.
Some of your favorite technology apps that come to your mind. Obviously, one piece is if we're in an office, we're talking, we're seeing other people. So helping communication be consistent and keeping tabs on projects moving forward. What are some top apps or tools that come to your mind that you like?
Yeah, sure. So really it starts with the fundamentals of what is the form of communication you use the most. And if you use email, I think making sure having either Office 365 or Google's email service as your primary system of communication is the first step. Those tools themselves offer real-time communication, either through direct chat or video chat. Microsoft has Microsoft Teams, which is it's a free tool that people can use. It allows voice and video chat. Google has Google Hangouts, the same exact thing. And then you can take it a step further, where if you want to have a bit more organized communication and tracking, you can use a tool like Slack, which Slack is a very popular name, but it's essentially just a chat tool that'll let you communicate, voice chat, and access documents from different places that you have it, as well as emails. Those are some of the basic stuff.
Managing a team remotely. As a leader, former CEO, of being able to have team members all over the place, what are your thoughts on good etiquette and good mindset to have to keep the team working well together remotely?
This is a very touchy subject because there are different philosophies all over the place. I mean, some companies go to the 4 work days per week maximize everything and give a 3-day weekend to kind of reset. And there are some people who allow those to take longer breaks during the day to kind of reset and get back into the mojo. Remote is a different beast because you're trusting your team. The first thing is you have to trust your team. If you don't trust your team, it's not going to work. The second is setting clear guidelines on what your expectations are and having open communication. I think I've said to you in the past, communication is the number one most important part of a relationship, especially in business. So when you communicate with your team your expectations, it should be set in stone. And then lastly, if you have your schedule and you have your management tools, there are various tools you can use and various methods to track workflow and to monitor workflow, not to a micromanagement level, but to a degree where you can give everyone the expectations for the day, for the week, for the month, that they can work on their tasks and get things done, and set leaders within your organization to achieve that as well. And most well-oiled machines, teams, already have these types of systems in place, but realistically, from doing it in person to doing it online, it's not much of a difference. For you and I, we were able to communicate very simply by saying, hey, do you want to have a video chat? And you saying yes, and us scheduling it and having it on our calendar and going through the motions of connecting and doing that. Realistically, it's the same thing for business meetings and communication. There should be no limitations. And while it's nice to have someone next to you where you can just turn around, and instead of doing that, now you're just clicking a button and saying, hey, Deborah, hey, Mark, let's chat. We have stuff to talk about.
If you're delegating tasks and you have a team to execute on things, you're used to being able to see them working, and now you can't see them working, and the fear or the thought comes in your mind, I wonder, are they getting stuff done? Are they just like chilling at home watching Netflix and eating popcorn with their kids? What do you say to that type of mindset? And it may just be a thought that's in a leader's head. How do you respond to that?
If you're thinking that, then you don't have the right team. That's the first thing that comes to mind. You should know that your team is going to get the job done. I will say that it's human to have second guess opportunities float around. Realistically, if you have a good tracking tool, there are many tools like Jira, Asana, Trello that businesses use. I think another up and coming one, Monday.com. Checking out those tools and managing a workflow gives clear guidelines and clear expectations from team members and the ability for them to track their workflow. If you're a software development company, it's a totally different beast. You know what you're doing. So there's nothing that I can say that's better than what they're doing. And if they're not, I'm happy to talk about that. But realistically, you're plugging in what your expectations are visually, and you're allowing your team to accept their tasks, update their tasks, and move them through the pipeline so you can see the workflow and the statuses of everything. But again, the really important part here is if you think for a second that your team, realistically, if you think that your team is farting around, something's wrong. Either you don't have the right team or you're not in the right headspace. The tools are there to make sure that everyone understands what they're not supposed to do, but it's not really there to micromanage. I think that's a poor philosophy to track people and monitor their workflow. And it would worry me. It would worry me a lot if I had to feel that way.
You make an excellent point that there's a plethora of remote collaboration tools that exist. And
yes.
If anything, this pandemic will increase the usage of those and the opportunities of those and the adoption of them, because it allows people to be tracking their progress, and as a leader to see where people are. For if they're achieving the objectives, then it doesn't matter how they get it done or when they get it done, as long as they're doing it. And
get it done.
And they that's all that really matters.
Get
right?
It done. Everyone has expectations of in a timely manner. I think that goes without saying. Everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing. Everyone knows why you're part of the team. Get it done.
Or then on the opposite side, as one who is working from home, and you do have, if you've never done it before, there are distractions. Family, the chores, the nice comfy couch, whatever it may be. How do you have the right mindset when you're working from home to be productive?
Having a 14-month-old child, I'll tell you that it is impossible to work at home with your child there. It's not possible, and I'm not going to pretend it is. If you're a parent and you care about your child, the minute your child walks over with a book and wants to read, they want to talk to you, you are going to pay attention to them. It's going to disrupt your workflow. The best advice that I can give is find a safe place that you can go and not be disrupted. If it's in your bedroom with the door shut, get some noise canceling headphones so that you can get into the right workspace, but also make sure that your family understands that there's a separation that you need to be able to be productive. In New York City, there's no public places that we can typically use. And by public, I mean restaurants, bars. Office spaces are typically closed right now during this time period. And if you're privy to have a building space, common areas where you're able to work, or if you have internet connectivity outside, working on a bench on a park, somewhere where you can isolate yourself is probably a great opportunity. And I've heard some of my friends work in the bathtub if they have to with the door shut, and AirPod Pros, just so they can get some calls or some emails out the door. But you do what you have to do. But importantly, to do your best work, you do need that isolation.
As long as you don't have to do a video call from the bathtub, then then you should be good.
Just make sure you have a good backsplash or
backsplash, yeah,
something.
your nice tile backdrop. I mean,
that could be your bathtub. I would never know.
I love it. And actually, you bring up a good point of going outside. Even though we can't go to public places, I heard that that you can still go to, if there's parks and places where, as long as you're not near another person. Now, New York City may be a little bit different, but for other areas, you can take a drive and enjoy nature if it's a nice day, and work.
Yeah, take a drive, or in that matter, you can work in the backseat of your car. Comfort's important, right? I think making sure that you have a good area to do your best work is very important. And whether that's somewhere that has access to coffee or water or restrooms and some comfort, I think that it's important depending on the job role you have. Everyone's different. So there are some people that may have requirements that are totally different from mine. My minimal requirement is I need somewhere where I can extend my arms and extend my legs. That's I don't need coffee or water. Just let me extend my arms and legs and give me some quiet, and I'll get everything done. There's some people that need a bit more, but regardless of what it is, try and achieve it as best as you can, and make sure that you understand that you're part of a team. People are depending on you no matter where you are, and distractions are exactly what they are, and try to minimize them as best as you can.
Awesome. Any last thoughts that come to your mind that you'd want to share with other folks who are now making this transition? They're not familiar with working remote, and now they're finding themselves forced into it, either as a leader or as the person who is doing the work and having to work from home, that you can or want to share.
I think this is a good exercise on how our lives are going to change. While right now is not a great time in human history, I will say that it's very possible in the next few years, while everyone should have great health, and that's what we're all expecting, with more automation and easier access to transportation and the ability to work more remote, this is going to become more commonplace. So I'm not going to say get with the times. I'm going to say think about the future and think about how businesses will be. This is an exercise for that event, and what the expectation of the next generation of workforce is going to desire. It's not living in big cities. It's having space, having that outdoors that they want, being wherever they want, and being able to work. This should prepare you, and don't be afraid of it. I think it's a good opportunity for us all to disconnect from that office life, that 9 to 5 in an office, and kind of give us all a better quality of life. I think a lot of people will appreciate that. I know I will, and I have, and I know that the people around me have as well.
So get used to it. It's staying.
As best as you can, yes. Get used to it. We all know that this is definitely changing perspectives. It's gonna be fun. I think about minus the pandemic that's going on right now. I think that you'll notice more and more of businesses being comfortable with remote work. Businesses being comfortable with the flexibility that people need and want, and a much happier workforce. And then you're going to see your kids, it's going to be commonplace for them that they're going to be able to, what's an office?
I can imagine the future. What's an office? Well, thank you for joining and sharing your insight. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me as always, and looking forward to chatting again.